Hey, it's Liam Hewitt, the Elvis Tribute Artist. Y'all might have seen me on the internet, and I'm here with Ryan Pelton for the ETA Files.
Hey, folks, thank you for joining me this week on ETA Files. Ryan Pelton, your host, and we have a special guest this week, the one and only Liam Hewitt. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Good, man. Great to have you. I appreciate you coming on such short notice. We've been trying. I know you've got your schedule with school and whatnot, but you're a young buck, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, so when I'm not like in the jumpsuit stuff, I'm off at school right now. I'm doing precision manufacturing. I'm up in the Georgia mountains doing that. And when I'm not in the jumpsuit, you can find me outside going on hikes and all sorts of outdoor stuff. I love being outdoors. So
that's awesome, man. What part of Georgia are you from?
I live in Augusta.
Okay.
So that's home.
All right. All your life, Georgia guy?
I actually grew up in West Virginia, but because of family, we moved back to Augusta.
All right. I grew up, part of my growing up anyways, was in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Southern Georgia. So yeah, I love it down there. Yeah, Georgia's something special. So you're pretty young. I mean, how old are you, Liam?
23.
23 years old. And how long have you been performing as Elvis?
I've been doing it 4 years. This Tupelo marks 4 years.
Okay. So you were 19, I guess, whenever you started? Yeah.
I think it was right after COVID stuff.
Okay.
That I stepped on the stage.
All right. So I don't know, like everybody's story is different. I find this fascinating too. I do. You went through COVID. You're one of those young people who it kind of might have affected your schooling education. You were probably already graduated. Maybe that's the year you graduated.
I graduated that year. So we were fortunate. We actually got to do our graduation in person, but we did have like the last part of my senior year that we were from home doing online stuff, but everybody was just hanging out with each other the whole time that we weren't supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an interesting thing, man. I know so many young folks whose education got kind of almost like put off for a year or two, because of the whole situation. But we're not here to talk about that. We are talking about you. I don't think anyone just makes a conscious decision one day and says, or very few people at least, hey, I'm gonna go try this Elvis thing. You had to have probably had some influence prior to being in Tupelo and 4 years ago when you were 19, right?
Yeah. So, I grew up listening to just about every kind of music. And I did one time, like for a little birthday party, I dressed up as Elvis. And so I think something deep down stuck then. But, I started singing in the shower when I was about 16. So my family heard me. And then I mustered enough courage to get out in front of other people, like at my school. And I would sing in the hallways at school. And people were like, you kind of sound like Elvis. And so I got like the costume Aloha. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I wore that for a couple of like little dress up days. And it just it went from there. And then I met Bill Cherry and he told me, I showed him a video and he told me that I should start competing. And he told me to sign up for the Tupelo Elvis Festival. And I did. And I made the top 10 that year after like never knowing anything about that world. So yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Bill Cherry's awesome, dude. And in fact, I'm gonna have Bill Cherry on here in a couple of weeks on
awesome.
ETA Files. So been trying to get a hold of him. He's awesome. He's old school like me, but Bill's one of those special people in the business that you're not the first person that I've talked to who said Bill has given them some advice and helped them out, especially early on.
Oh yeah, he was really great. I mean, he spent over an hour and a half talking to me backstage about this stuff, and I can't thank him enough. It was really great.
Hey, you don't see that all the time. I appreciate that. That's awesome, man. So you start out it sounds like you were just kind of a casual fan. It kind of found you more than you growing up in a household that was like Elvis, 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 Elvis. You said you liked other kinds of music. What other kinds?
Oh, I mean, I'd hear stuff like AC/DC on the radio, just all the classic rock stuff, all of it.
Is that a parental influence?
Yeah, my dad loved the Beatles, so I heard a lot of Beatles. He saw the Beatles in concert actually.
That's cool.
Um, so yeah, I heard like all the classic stuff.
All
Um,
right. So 4 years of being in this crazy business. Um, Sounds like, you've got a bit of a head on your shoulders with what you're doing. You're going to school and whatnot. Um, and some people get into this and it's like, you better make it because you don't have something else. You have something else,
exactly.
obviously.
Yep.
How does that how does that change your mindset? It's funny. There's a gentleman named Austin Pugh who was on here a while back, and Austin's just kind of starting out, but he's
Yep.
also an electrical engineer at a nuclear power plant facility or whatever he does. So he's got another option out there. You know what I mean? How do
I
you? Well, I'm just. How does that change your perspective, maybe compared to some of the other guys?
I think that especially for like some of the guys that have to, a lot of people out there, this is like their bread and butter. This is what you have to get on the stage and you have to perform and get so many shows, you know, to make it. And for me, especially with like, I'll be out in just a few more semesters of school, and with the industry I'm in, I can go out and get a job pretty easily. So it's not as like I kind of get to be a little bit more relaxed with the whole tribute thing. I get to do it like when I want to, um, and perform when I want to, instead of it being like I have to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good thing.
I
Kind of
agree.
allows it just to allows you to enjoy it more instead of it being a business.
Exactly. Yep.
And it has become a business. It's so funny. I was asking um, a gentleman that you might know, Joe Zanelli, the drummer for Change of Habit, some
Yeah.
guys that he thought I should maybe uh, have on. And you were one of the top people. He said, you should have this guy on. And there was a number of guys that he mentioned, but I find his perspective unique that he performs contests and he gets to see a lot of different guys and
Oh yeah.
kind of behind the scenes. And he first mentioned you and said that a lot of people are really resonating with what you're doing out there. How's that make you feel?
It's a great feeling, because you get to. Not only do I love just the music in general, but to be able to bring that to the people that loved Elvis so much and give them a moment of feeling like they're watching him again. It's just such a special thing. I'm sure you know that feeling. It's great. I mean, it's such an honor to do that. Really.
Yeah. Along the way, so okay, so you sing a couple songs and whatnot. You finally decide to go down to Tupelo. I mean, what's your mindset going into something like that the first time? I mean, everyone's different, but what
Oh
was your mindset like? Okay, I'm gonna get a jumpsuit. I'm a young buck here,
yeah.
19 years old, but I'm gonna get a jumpsuit and I'm gonna. I mean, how's that all work in your head?
Well, I kind of looked into it a little bit. I just went up to my mom and was like, "Hey, I've entered the Tupelo Elvis Festival," and she was like, "Okay." And so we ended up, I don't. Would you know Jeff Barnes by chance?
Yeah,
Okay, so Jeff was one of my mentors, and he's from my area, and so he was really helpful early on as well. And I bought my first jumpsuit off of him, and he kind of told me a little bit about the competing stuff and how that went, but my family had no idea. So we got to Tupelo with like no clue what it was really about at all. At the Cadence Arena that they have in Tupelo, um, and they were so scared when I was on stage. I mean, my mom and sister were like, "What did you get in? What did you get yourself into?" They had no idea. I had no idea. I had never been on a stage with a band before, uh, or performed like on that scale. I had done a couple of little tiny things, just a song here and there, like
right.
you said. But yeah, I had no idea. So then I saw the world, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! I got to do this again."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got the bug, man. There's something about it. Before before doing it, it doesn't sound like you're necessarily an introverted person. Um, how would you describe yourself? Introverted,
Well,
extroverted?
back then, like when I first started, I was really, really shy. I'm still am. I think a lot of entertainers are actually kind of shy people, surprisingly. But that's one of those things. Just being around so many people and talking to people that's brought me out of my shell significantly. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm totally different. Like you can talk to some people like Robin and Chloe at B&K that saw me that very first time in Tupelo and versus now, and I'm I've grown up a lot. I was pretty young then too. 19 is pretty young.
Oh, for
So
sure, for sure.
yeah,
But there's no right or wrong time to get on the road of doing it.
that's right.
But I think it's interesting. I was very much the same way, very introverted, starting out on this little journey, and that's probably not a bad thing. And I don't shy away from the fact that I can be very socially awkward and whatnot if I'm not trying to like think about, hey, just get out of your own head about stuff, because I'm a thinker. I'm always thinking. I've got,
Oh, I'm the same way. I can't stop.
yeah. So I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. I think it's a blessing, but makes life interesting. I would
It
say that.
does. It's true.
So here we are, 2025. You're getting people talking about you, people liking what they're seeing on stage. There's a little bit of momentum building up behind this cat. You
Yep.
know, here we are. What is your thoughts on, like, where do you want this to go?
I really want to get it to, and I'm working on it right now behind the scenes. I really want to get it to where I'm able to do my own shows, and I'm working with putting together a band right now and doing that, just like the Elvis and work balance. Because I am going to be starting to work soon, but I get quite a bit of private gigs and things like that, like birthday parties, but I want to be able to go out on stage and do a show with a band when I want to,
Yeah.
and I'm getting invited to do stuff with like Cody, and that's awesome. I have a great time with him, and other opportunities as well that have arisen. So yeah, it's exciting. It's a lot of fun, but just being on the big stage, this, going from just competing to getting to a point where I want to be on the stage and bringing audiences in is kind of where I want to be, and that's where I'm getting this. I'm close to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome news. Have you been doing qualifications for the ultimate, all that stuff? Are you qualified this year?
I did not qualify this year. I kind of, after Tupelo, and especially with school stuff, I kind of did back off of the contest a little bit.
Right.
But I'm thinking about entering some again.
Yeah.
You know,
I got you, man. Yeah.
it's been nice just to chill with that title and to watch everything. But now I'm kind of like, well, shoot, I think I might go do a couple in 2026 again. Why
Right.
not?
Yeah. I get you, man. I get you. Do you feel, your time in this industry, do you feel that your what you do, okay, the way you go about this, do you feel it's best served in contests, or would you rather just say, I'm not going to do any more contests, I'm just going to do shows, or both?
I mean, a few contests is not. How contests are. They're just. It's such a stressful thing, because it's such a different thing. I think we all want to be just performing and not have people judging us.
Right.
Like that's where we perform best.
Yeah.
And there are a few exceptions to that. Some people perform better under pressure, but just having that whole thing off your head, where it's just like you can go and just have a good time and not have to worry about these four beady eyes staring at your every move and every little thing going on. Yeah, it's a little bit less pressure just doing shows for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think, and I've shared this, I don't think I've ever done my best, performance in a contest ever. Even the ones I've won, I don't think I've ever done my best performance.
Yeah, I think you can always. I mean, you can always improve. And there's, especially under pressure, you're not necessarily like your peak
Yeah.
because you're just not in the same brain space as you would be
Yeah.
if you were just doing a show.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. For sure. What is it about you? I mean, you've got a big voice, you've got some God-given abilities here, but did you have any background in singing, all that stuff growing up?
not at all. No, I my granddaddy sang, and He passed when I was 5. They wanted him to go out to do some stuff in Nashville. He knew a few guys like Eddie Arnold and Chet Atkins, and but I think maybe it just crossed down from the um, generations.
Yeah,
I think it skipped a generation and landed on me.
I gotcha. Have you ever thought about anything in the music field beyond Elvis?
Well, I'm kind of in the works of maybe doing some studio stuff, but I love the Elvis music. It's just that music has stuck with me so much. I think it's not only if you really look at it, it's not just Elvis music. When you look at all the people that wrote these songs and everything,
Yeah,
it's some of the best music out there in the world.
yeah,
Regardless, I mean, it just covers so many different people.
right. Yeah, and it's just especially when you get into the '70s, man. There was so much that he did that kind
Yep,
of pulled from different people, genres, writers, feels. I guess maybe even his whole career, Liam, right? Because I mean, even
yep,
in the '50s, and it's funny how in the '50s, I mean, everyone was kind of like stealing from everyone, you know.
yep. I
You
mean,
know,
that was just how it was.
yeah,
Everybody was trying to sing the stuff.
yeah.
So
I love the story of how Elvis, you know, did "Don't Be Cruel" in the studio, and he had a DJ playing, hitting on the guitar case. At the beginning of "Don't Be Cruel" for percussion. I love that story, but and he performed it a couple times, and then he goes to Vegas and he sees, I think it was Jackie Wilson. I think it was Jackie Wilson performing "Don't Be Cruel," and then the next thing you know, he's performing it on TV, kind of the way Jackie Wilson performed it instead of the way Elvis originally recorded it. So I love those kind of stories. It's just
yeah, those are
fascinating.
awesome.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, back in 1956, Elvis came to Augusta twice. Once before he signed with Sun Records, and then again after. And they had about, I think it could hold about 4,000 people in the theater. And the second time he came to the Bell, they had about 6,000 people in there,
That's
crammed in,
awesome.
screaming. Yeah, it's
That's awesome.
Elvis. There's so much Elvis history everywhere you go. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, it is. And even whenever you travel around the world where they never saw him live, or he never came to their country, one of the funniest things is to go to a country that doesn't speak English. And I'm telling you, Liam, Elvis is your international credit card or passport or whatever you want to call it, because you'll get treated better because people think you look like Elvis. It's crazy.
I was over. I have two Elvis stories. I went over for a wedding to Italy, and I was in I was in one of the big cities. I can't remember off the top of my head which one,
Yeah.
but I was just walking around, and someone had an Elvis on tour shirt on in Italy, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" And
Yeah.
then we were over in Germany for a family trip this past Christmas, and we went to a little coffee shop, and we just asked them about what they thought about Elvis in Germany, and they were like, "He's a hero."
Yeah.
I thought that's so interesting. He has such a huge influence across the world. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What is your heritage? What nationality are you?
Irish. We have a lot of Irish.
I was gonna say,
I'm
man,
Catholic, so
yeah, name like Liam. I was thinking like,
yeah,
yeah, might be a little something going on there. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, that's Scotch Irish. That's English, Irish, Scottish. Yeah, that's what I am. Okay, so not everybody can just wake up and have a look like you do. You've got a really cool, strong Elvis resemblance. Was that something that was noticed early on, or is this just something that you've kind of worked on and it's got better with the hair being longer? Or I mean, has it always been that way?
I mean, probably when I first started, people were like, you kind of look like Elvis, and then you have enough people tell you that you're like, okay, it's not just my family and friends telling me this. There has to be a little something there, and the hair, because there's one question that people ask me all the time. They're like, "Is that your real hair?" Yes, it's all mine. I grew it myself. Uh, but the hair has taken. I have someone I've been working with on my hair now for about 2 years, and it's we finally got it to where it actually cooperates. There was a period of time, and I think when you're first starting out, the hair is probably the hardest thing to figure out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but
That's
Yeah,
funny.
I think that you just start realizing that I probably do kind of have some looks like Elvis. Enough people have told me that now. That,
Oh
but
yeah, you certainly do. You certainly have a strong striking resemblance, and it's, hey, that's work that to your advantage. There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys out there that wish they had your facial features, but two, there's a lot of guys out there that wish they just had your hair.
oh yeah, I'm definitely grateful for that. I
Yeah,
can't grow the sideburns. I've prayed about that as much as you can.
yeah.
Possibly pray about growing sideburns, and they just have not come on yet. So hopefully one day.
Oh, that's
Cross my
funny. If you just hold your breath and hold your nose really and push, it'll just pop out. Yeah.
I'll have
No,
to try that one.
no, don't. Oh, that's funny. Um, Man, there's so many funny stories in this business. I tell you what, sideburns. It was when I first started. It was a long time ago, Liam, and I know you don't know what this is. Um, right as I was getting out of high school, um, there was a show on that for a minute was really popular, and it was called Beverly Hills 90210. All right. And it's so funny if you go back today and you watch one of those episodes, you're like, oh my God, this is mind-numbingly stupid. Sorry, but it it is. But anyways, that show was the whatever hit popular show, especially for someone who's just getting out of or in high school. Um, but it was funny because they had these kids that were growing sideburns. All right. And man, so everyone started growing sideburns about the time I got out uh, of high school and into college. It was like that time frame where everyone was starting to grow these sideburns. And man, I had gotten the fact that people said I looked like Elvis before, but man, whenever I started doing the sideburn thing, just because that's what everyone was doing, man, it took off. It was crazy.
Yeah, the sideburns. It's just like Elvis,
Yeah, yeah, and
such
it
an
doesn't.
Elvis thing.
And it doesn't, honestly, I've seen this too. I've seen it 1,000 times. Anybody with sideburns, somebody will say, make an Elvis comment. It's like Elvis and sideburns are synonymous. So yeah,
He's the one that made him really cool.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Your dad was a big Beatles fan. You a big Beatles fan?
Not as much. I'll listen to him every once in a while, but he was hard. He's just is a hardcore Beatles fan. I have a signed autograph from the Beatles. He sent them a little angry letter when they broke up, and they sent him a signed autograph back.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Yep.
awesome. Uh, I think there's a group called Liverpool Legends that there's performing right now with Legends in Concert,
Oh, cool.
and man, they're fabulous. And as much as I don't know about music, I freely admit that. Man, their songs, they had some great songs, very catchy songs,
They do. That's for sure.
yeah. And I think it's interesting too. There's a couple crossovers. Um, I love Elvis's version of something better than the Beatles. However, uh, I think Elvis should have never tried to record Hey Jude.
I would agree with it. I like the Yesterday.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I don't like the Hey Jude at all, man.
No, it's not the best.
Yeah,
There's a few Elvis songs where it's like probably shouldn't have recorded those.
yeah, yeah. You felt like, and a lot of that stuff was like, you kind of can give a pass for some of the movie songs, but you kind of get like towards the end, you felt like maybe he was just churning stuff out. Um,
Especially in the movie stuff
well,
years.
yeah,
And then the
yeah,
songs got harder later on. They were having a hard time getting the songs.
yeah, yeah.
So
I like another one. I didn't really care for, and the only reason why is because I heard another version of it first. Um, uh, the first time ever I saw your face. Do you know that song?
I do, yes, sir.
So, and I forget the who sang it originally, but George Michael, man, George Michael, if you know anything about him, God rest his soul, passed away, but he was an amazing vocalist, but just fabulous. And he did this album of like, I forget what it was called, but he sang that song on it. And it was like kind of like orchestra and just kind of like old school kind of music, that he was doing.
Yep.
And man, I heard that and I was like, there's never going to be another version of this song that is better. Then I heard Elvis's version of it. It's like, oh my God, it's so the first time. Just kind of, anyway, I don't even know why I brought that up.
I'll have to listen to his version. I didn't know that he did one.
Dude, it's amazing. I'll send it to you. I'll email it to you after we're done. So mostly you're performing all the time in 70s, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I pretty much have always done the 70s. I'll sing like at home in private. I sing just about all of it.
Yeah.
But on stage, I cover and I have jumpsuits throughout all the 70s. So
yeah.
it's
Well,
just,
you kind of have it's a youthful look. You have a youthful look, but your hair and just, I think some of your features are more reminiscent of the 70s.
yeah, people always say that like in there is where I look like Elvis.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was some of his cousins came up to me. It might have been in one of the Georgia festivals. They were like, "You look like a Presley."
Yeah.
They came up to me and told me that, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool."
Yeah. Yeah. That is, like I said, that's a good problem to have in this business.
Sure.
Are the 70s your favorite,
Oh
era
yeah.
of Elvis's? Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I think that the music just developed so much, and his sound and his
Yeah.
presence and everything got so much more refined, and um, it's it's amazing. I mean, you go and watch a video of Elvis on stage, and you're like, this guy is just something else. He really is.
Yeah. Entertaining to watch. That's the thing that got me with Elvis was I knew nothing about him when I started at all. Um, I wasn't, so taken aback by, oh, this guy's the most amazing singer ever, or man, this guy looks great, or he really moves. It was just like this essence that I didn't know what he was going to do next, and I just wanted to watch to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy watching him. I mean, when you get into watching all like the karate moves and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
where do you even think about doing that sort of stuff on stage with an audience? Like where did that he didn't it just happened. I don't think you can even think about that.
Yeah. I don't think that Elvis ever was like, man, I just, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I got some support to back it up, but I just don't think Elvis was ever like, hey, tonight I'm going to go out there during Suspicious Minds. I'm going to do this. I don't think
No,
that I think that maybe, he did it once and it worked and people cheered and he did it again, maybe. But
yeah.
like, even in Jailhouse Rock, the movie, which is one of my favorite Elvis movies, um, the choreographer had this whole thing that he was thinking of doing. And when he got to see that Elvis was just kind of it just came out of him. He said, Elvis, what would you do? And then they made the choreography around what Elvis would do. You know what I mean?
I mean, he just felt the music
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. And
For
it's
sure.
so funny when you watch that sequence, all these professional dancers around Elvis, but Elvis is the one that looks like he's just in it and smooth and feeling it. And it's all natural. And all
Yep.
these professionals are just kind of more jerky because it's just something you can't teach, I think,
Yeah, I would agree with it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest hurdles in this, probably doing this, is the moves and getting those to look right, and not look like you're just going through a sequence of
Yeah.
motions.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, if you ever get to the point where you are actually feeling the music and it's coming out of you and you're not thinking of it, but it's like similar to what Elvis would do. If you get to that point, man, that's a special moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really in this right now. I'm in the zone.
Yeah, I think I've gotten to that point where it's not, I just get up there and I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I go back and watch. It's like, whoa, wow, that really kind of looked like something Elvis would have actually done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of cool, man. Kind of cool stuff. Your career. Okay. You're so young, Liam. You could be doing this for the next easily. I mean, if you did it for 30 more years, you'd be my age, think about that. So you've got so much ahead of you when it comes to this. And you also got a career in 30 years, you could have be in an amazing position with your career too.
Yep.
So, you've got a lot of things going for you right now, though, as you look 5 years, 10 years in the future, where do you see yourself in the Elvis world?
That's a really good question. I mean, still performing, I would say that's, I don't think I'll ever stop unless I get to a point where it's like, okay, I really shouldn't go out there anymore. But, um, as long as I'm in good shape and I look good and I sound good, I'll always do it. And, but, I don't really know like where I'll be, exactly. It's a hard thing to look and say, this is where I would like to be. I just put my faith in the Lord that He has a plan for me, and whatever He wants that to look like and wants that plan to be, uh, I'm there for it. So
That's cool. I appreciate
yeah,
that. Do you have a desire? And I think you have to have the burn inside of you for it even to matter. Do you have the desire to possibly do go after an ultimate championship?
yeah. I mean, I'll definitely want to go back there again. It might not be like I have so much time is the thing. It's I think it's very possible, and I think I could do it. You
Yeah,
know, some people it takes longer than others. Look at Cody. I mean, it took Cody. I can't even remember how many years it took him
I
to
think he
win the
said
Ultimate.
five or six times or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And he was always up at the top too. That's a funny thing about Cody. He was always, it's not like he was just barely making it. No, everyone just assumed Cody's going to be there, and he's
yeah,
going to be one of the contenders, and just
yeah, I
ends
was
up
there
winning.
watching, and I was like, "This is his year. He's doing it." I could just see it
Yeah,
watching in the audience. I was like, "Man, he's doing it this year," because I saw it the year before too, and um, yeah, I knew he was going to win when he did.
yeah, yeah. Do you make it to a lot of Elvis weeks down there?
I have. I've been to quite a few. I think this is the first year I'm not going to go, but I'll be back. It happens every year, so
Yeah, it does, like clockwork, right? Uh,
exactly.
is it just because that you didn't qualify this year that you're not going, or just taking a break?
Yeah, I mean that's one reason, but it's a lot just to go up there for to really just to hang out is a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It's expensive to go up there and do that. And I only have like a 2 week summer break,
Oh
or
yeah,
like between my summer and my fall semester starting. So I was like, I'm just gonna relax.
I got you, man. Good for you. Good for you. So fall semester comes up. What classes do you got? Can you expound on that?
Yeah. So in the fall, I'm doing my second CNC class, and I'm taking two classes for it in the fall. I think they're just kind of like almost like connected, really. Like it's learning about how to use the CNC lathes,
Yeah.
which right now I'm doing manual lathe two. So I've already taken like lathe one, and now I'm doing lathe two, and that's like uh, a hand operated machine that you can spin things and make like round parts on. So the CNC one's going to do all that automatically. So I'll be able to put in a program, punch the stuff in, and not have to do all the hand cranking of the
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
So
So you're learning the programming side where
that too, I'm learning everything, the
the
hands-on stuff.
yeah, the three-dimensional scaling modeling and all that stuff. That's
Yep,
fascinating. I love that stuff, man. Yeah, I really do. Do you have a 3D printer?
I do. I have quite a few of those.
I was going to say someone doing what you're doing, you've got to have a 3D
That's
printer.
kind of how it started, really, because I actually what happened was is that I right out of high school I went to do like a 2 year mechanical engineering degree, and I really did not like that. Was like so much more like looking at the stuff, but not actually getting your hands on things. And so that's when I started kind of doing the Elvis thing picked up. And so I took a break from school, and uh, I'm almost done with it now. But
Yeah.
I went back into school, and now this area is just so much more hands-on, and I love. I've always loved hands-on stuff. Started with that 3D printing stuff, but like building Legos and
Oh
just
yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I love it.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yeah. You don't work. That's not work.
No.
making stuff and building stuff. Yeah, that's awesome, man. What's your favorite thing you've made, created, whatever, printed, 3D printing?
Ooh, 3D printing. I've done a couple of the Star Wars helmets
Yeah,
on the printers, and those are fun.
yeah,
Those are
man.
really fun.
I have a good buddy of mine that has been interviewed before. Michael Knight. He does a lot of characters, but he's really good, Michael Jackson. But he's into the cosplay stuff, man. And he has a
Oh
3D
yeah,
printer, so he does all this. And I mean, he comes in and he looks like a you know VR storm, whatever, VR Ranger. What were those? Power Rangers. He
yep.
does the Power Rangers. Oh, it's fascinating. I love it. I love it. Um, okay, so a couple questions here. Do you, first of all, I love this. If you do you have any funny and or just, embarrassing maybe stories that you've, in 4 years of doing this, you've come across, and it can be just, doesn't have to be anything terrible, but I know, man, I have so many stupid little stories of like, just because I was young and naive and didn't know what I was doing, something happened that, you look back and you laugh at. Do you have anything like that you can share?
Yeah, well, so the very first paid gig that I did, I actually did wear like a wig for that, and it's really funny looking at those pictures because now I have the hair and I can do all this stuff, but seeing myself with this big old wig on, it wasn't made for me. I was just borrowing one.
Right.
That's pretty funny, but also with some of these private parties that I've done, sneaking in to places, I had to jump a fence at the last private function I did over Christmas, and it was actually for a doctor and for his like Christmas party and his birthday thing, and he hired me, and nobody knew in his office that I was doing this, and I snuck into a bedroom, so I had to hop a fence to get into that bedroom, and I did it. And surprising adults is probably one of the best things when you can do it to get them to like feel like children again for a second, to have
Yeah.
that amount of surprise. So that was pretty fun. Uh,
That's a cool story. Was it snowy? Probably not. Georgia, right? Not snowing.
no, we get very little snow, unfortunately.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know, I was probably 14 years old, 15, maybe, yeah, 15, 14, 15 years old. And it was in Warner Robins, Georgia, and there was snow. Yeah, I mean, it was basically what you would consider a dusting
Yeah,
up
that would
north,
be.
but the city was closed down for 2, 3 days because they didn't have any snow removal equipment or anything.
This
So
past Christmas, we got probably more. Uh, Actually, I think maybe it was like January, but we got like a decent amount for Georgia actually, and I missed about like 2 weeks of school because of it.
yeah,
Here.
yeah, it's just funny. It's crazy.
It is.
Um, if you had a chance, just you can kind of pick the scenario. Yeah, you 3D print yourself a time machine. All right, you have the ability to go back in time at some point in Elvis Presley's career and be there and talk to him for 1 hour. Where would you go, and what would you talk about?
That's hard. Wow. I don't know. Something about me. I do feel drawn to like the '77 time frame, like that last concert. I have watched that thing so many times because you look at him. I know it's like a really touchy subject with a lot of people in the Elvis world, but I actually tend to think that he was, at least in that concert, that he looked really good at the time compared to other times. You look at some pictures from him from like '76. He was just up and down. He fluctuated so much, but I think he was feeling really good in that concert. And I don't know, just talking to him for an hour, then towards the end to see how he was feeling,
Yeah,
about his life and his career, that would have been really interesting time to talk to him. I feel like.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of I love that question because I've gotten so many cool answers. One of my favorites was, and I tend to say the same thing is I would have just said, man, take care of yourself,
Yeah, me too.
earlier on, like it's just not going to be worth it. And one of my favorite ones that someone said was, bro, it's 2025. We remember you, don't worry about not being remembered. Cause that was one of his big things. He's always afraid that he was just going to disappear.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And yeah, just like, dude, it's 2025 and we're still celebrating you and your music. So, take care of yourself. And yeah, because I look at Tom Jones and he's out there just still, he's killing it.
He
And they
is.
were
He sounds
contemporaries.
so good.
Oh, he sounds amazing. Dude, 42 years old is young. To die at 42 years old is so young. And I don't even know if you can recognize that until you've lived it. Like I'm 52 years old. I'm 10 years older than Elvis was when he died. And like, I'm not ready to go, like
Yeah,
42 is way too young to die. And what a tragedy, right?
it is. I do think though that uh, because of his passing, I feel like it's almost lifted him to a level that some people didn't get lifted to because he's not here to perform.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
go watch him. You can still go see Tom Jones,
Yeah.
but Elvis, you have to remember him for how he was,
Yeah.
and he gave himself like 250% every performance. And it's truly amazing. Even when he was like in its worst shape,
Yeah.
it still sounded so good and put on an incredible show. I mean, it's unreal.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. It's fascinating to me, the whole situation. But I
Yeah.
do think you're right in passing away young. He became an instant legend. There's no doubt about that. And he had such a I always say too, he had such a big fan base that started in 1956 that was and they followed him through the 70s. And then they started dying off, in the 90s, early 2000s and whatnot. And that's what we're seeing, a change, at least of, there's a whole generation of Elvis fans who weren't alive when he was, yourself included.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. What's your favorite Elvis Presley song to just let's start with this. What's your favorite Elvis Presley song to sing, perform, sing, and then to move to, and then just your favorite Elvis song? Maybe it's all the same, maybe it's not.
So I love doing How Great
Okay.
in shows. Um, I don't know. I just think it's such a powerful song, and I know he loved to sing the gospel, and I think it. If he's going to ever show up on the stage and be there for a moment, it's probably when you're singing the gospel stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've had those moments where I feel like he's been there, on the stage. I don't know if you've experienced that yourself,
Not
but
like that, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're getting at. Yeah.
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 So that song is just such a powerful thing. I think everybody in the room, when you sing gospel and all that, just gets lifted to a different plane.
Sure.
And so that's definitely my favorite one to perform. And my favorite moving song, probably Suspicious Minds. I know that people are like, oh, you hear it all the time. You hear it all the time, but it's really a great song. I mean, it truly is. Uh, there's not many songs like that, especially
Sure.
today. Suspicious Minds is just such an awesome song,
All right.
and I love I just can't help believing. I think that's probably one of my favorite songs. It's such a beautiful song.
BJ Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I love that song. And what's really cool about that too is that and that's the way it is. Just how that little vamp at the beginning,
Yep.
there's such a nice groove there. It's kind of just it's kind of yeah, it's really I love performing that song as well. I love the song. The lyrics and everything. I mess them up though, and it's funny, Elvis that's the way it is. During the rehearsal he was messing it up, on stage
Oh
he
yeah.
was messing it up. I mess that up all the time. I get to like the I guess it's the third verse, because you do like two verses. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I whatever. And I get those messed up. I'm just like, just can't help believing when she slips her hand in my hand and taste of misty morning and promise of tomorrow in her eyes.
Yep.
I'm just like mixing up the verses. I
I
don't know.
actually
I don't know if the audience ever really realizes it, but yeah.
I actually did that one in the Ultimate when I went after I won Tupelo. That was one of the songs I got to sing on stage, and I at the time I had just gotten the turquoise concho, and that was pretty cool to do that
Yeah.
on that stage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the ultimate is such a crazy experience. I mean, it really is. It's
Yeah.
hard to put it into words how it feels to be there, and it's surreal the whole time.
Yeah. Do you do any practice? I mean, not practice. Do you do any shows just to track, or do you
Oh
usually
yeah,
have a band?
I do. Like all my private stuff I do, and the birthday parties or nursing homes and all that stuff. All that's to tracks.
All right.
And then I've done some uh, like fundraiser things like that, and those are the tracks. But the concert stuff I'm working on is going to be with bands and
Yeah.
with some other guys as well. And so yeah, that's the band. I'm sure you know this feeling too. You can relax when you have a band. Tracks, you almost just you're expecting everything. You have to make sure your moves are all on.
Yeah.
But with a band, you can just kind of sit back and just chill.
Yeah. Yeah. The band will follow you.
Exactly.
And the tracks, you got to follow the tracks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gotten to a point where it's almost actually like I don't like to work with tracks anymore. I know I have to a lot of times, but I much prefer be with a band.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
just so much more relaxed, and they'll follow you, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah. Yep. You can always vamp. That's the thing. You can always vamp if you mess up, or just gives you a chance to a perfect example is the breakdown in Suspicious Minds. When Elvis went down, um, how long are you down there? Well, you know what? Maybe you're interacting with someone in the audience during that moment and you want it to go around 2 or 3 more times, or whatever. You can't do that with a track. With a band, you can do that.
And the endings, you have to remember every ending of every track's
Yeah.
version you have,
Yeah.
and that can get confusing sometimes.
Yeah. I have some track shows, 2 of them coming up this summer. I haven't done actually 3. Yeah, there's 3. I haven't done a track show in forever. So I'm bringing out and dusting off the tracks and whatnot. And it is funny as I go through these songs, like, man, you actually have to know the song.
You really do. Yeah.
It's not even that you have to know the song. It's like, I know the songs, but you have to know exactly when to come in. Then you're usually pretty good. But then you also have to know that ending, like you said. And it's always awkward if you have a track that has a fade out.
Yeah. I think the hardest track, I don't know what it is, but Poke Salad
Yeah.
track form is just like a beast.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna sing it. I'm gonna look and see if there's like a Madison Square Garden version or something. I'm sure there probably is.
Yeah, those aren't too bad, but the one with all the words in the beginning.
Yep, the talking. No,
kind of impossible with a track.
No, because and that at some point, that's the thing, right? Like Elvis was not sitting there saying, "Okay, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." And some of y'all never been down south before. That's not what he was doing.
He wouldn't have made it as far as he did if he was.
Right. So I'm not. It is what it is. And if the promoter wants that song, they should have paid for a band. So there you
go. There's always that too. They can do that.
Yeah. Social media, you got it. You got a website. What do you got?
I do. So my website's liamsingselvis.com.
Okay.
If you're not already following me on Facebook, you can just look up my name, Liam Hewitt. And I have a fan page as well, Liam Hewitt Sings Elvis fan page.
Okay.
So pretty much any variation of my name on all the platforms, YouTube, TikTok. I have that Liam Sings Elvis on TikTok and on Instagram as well. So yeah, you can find me on all the different platforms.
Okay. Any big shows or anything in particular you want to plug coming up here in 2025?
Yeah. So the most recent thing coming up is in September on the 12th. I'm doing the Miller Theater with Cody Danath for our 3rd year. So that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Awesome.
And then I have some other stuff that just be watching. I'll have some dates put out here shortly for some stuff that's in the works. So
Awesome.
keep an eye out for that.
Awesome, man. And then your schooling, you said you don't have that much left. How many semesters do you have?
I think after this one, I probably only have two left.
So you're
So
about another year, year and a half.
I guess so. Yeah, fall and spring.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. And then are you looking to, so you might be this time next year, you might be done with school.
I should be. I hope so.
Okay.
Something went wrong if I'm not.
Okay. So next year, this time, you're going to be back in the Elvis world, obviously, but you might be getting a,
A job.
a real
Yep.
life, like, yeah, all of a sudden, and that might be relocating and all that, right?
Yeah. I hope I can stay up in the mountains. I love being like in the area I am. There's some, I mean, with the industry that I'm in, it's so great because everybody needs people to make parts. I mean, there's so many different things. I would love if I were able to get into like the aerospace field. That
Yep.
would be something I would love to get into. I love space and all that sort of stuff. It
Yeah.
fascinates me. And if I were able to say, I have a part that I made that's up in space right now, that would be so cool.
Yeah. They used to have, didn't they used to have, if I'm not mistaken, man, early on, you could get, uh, if you had the right kind of 3D printer, if it was robust enough, you could get, um, whatever you call it, patterns or whatever from NASA for like those bearings that can only be 3D printed the way they are,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that they put that out there and said, yeah, you can, if you have this and this material and want to do them, you can do them and we'll pay you to do them. I think they had that. That was a while ago, but from what I remember, they used to have that.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. That the whole 3D printing thing has changed so much too. It's like I first got into that when the machines weren't nearly as readily available. Like there was like one printer you could buy on the consumer market. It was called the M3D, and just a little tiny little thing. It could only print stuff like this big by like this big, and but now I mean you can go and get one for like $200 online that you don't have to do anything with. You can just click a button and it will print off whatever you need. If you need like a little hook for your door to put some clothes on or something, you can print that off in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
changed. That industry has changed so much. It's gotten so much better and more reliable.
for sure. For sure. And you work with Blender.
I use Fusion 360.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a crossover between what you're doing there and then with the 3D modeling in design and video. So it's kind of like the same thing, only different. So
It's
kind of,
different materials, but
yeah, yeah,
very similar. Understanding 3D space is the same with both.
yeah.
Uh, Programming those CNC machines, you got all these different tools that
Mhm.
you have to choose what you need done on the part. Like it doesn't really know what's there, so you have to tell it, "I need this tool to do this motion around the part."
Yeah, yeah,
And it's 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 really interesting learning about all that stuff. I mean, it's been fascinating, and I get to I'm not just reading about it in the book. I'm on the machines.
yeah.
The school I'm in, they put it in a $20 million facility uh, about 5 years ago, and so I'm in there on the machines, getting to make the parts. It's really cool.
That sounds so fun. It
It
really
is.
does. I often thought too of like, hey, it's more the money than I need to spend, but I like working with wood. I'm a woodworker, but they have the woodworking CNC machines
Oh
that
yeah, those are
are
cool.
awesome, man. I mean, dude, you can invent something and come up with a pattern to just cut out all the parts and like, dude, you can manufacture some really cool stuff that way, you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
they're having that kind of like capability to produce a part.
yeah,
Like if you can come up with one thing, there's so many things that need to be made. Like one little tiny part could change so many things out there. Like on these machines too. It's just like producing one little piece. It's amazing what they can do. Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's really cool stuff.
no doubt about it. All right, Volt, we appreciate you coming on. This has been a fascinating conversation. I appreciate you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem.
Folks, if you get a chance, check him out. He's up and coming. He's got a good head on his shoulders, smart and good looking, and an awesome vocalist. And he's coming. Look for him in your area. Liam Hewitt, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the ETA Files. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the ETA Files community. And if you're looking for something a little different, be sure to stop by my podcast, The Ryan Files. Keep rocking, my friends, and I'll see you next week with another story from the Elvis Tribute Artist world. In the meantime, check out these video links below.